Been a while. For starters, I just want to say thanks for 750 subs. We're almost at 1,000 already, which is pretty surprising considering I've only been doing this for like 4 months. I think it's been maybe 5. But I haven't done this. I haven't added anything like voiceover to a video in a long time, and it's not because I like haven't had any ideas or anything. It's honestly because, well, it's partly because I haven't had any ideas, but I'm kind of lazy and this takes a long time, especially for this video because I'm not sure how long this is going to take. I'm making a tier list of all the Titans, including Rook. Let's go. Kid is your starting Titan. It has a base health of 468,000 hit points and travels 36 kilometers an hour. It is your first Titan that you will unlock once you unlock Titans. Now, I really don't have that much to say about this. It pretty much speaks for itself. It's the starter Titan, the first one you will get. Not very good, and for that reason, I'm obviously going to put it in the lowest tier. Ather is a big shield Titan that has a base health of 345,000 hit points and travels 28 kilometers an hour. It also comes with a physical shield that has 1,120,800 hit points. Where to start with the Ather? Now, this Titan used to be the GOAT back when Titans first came out, and it was just the Kid, Ather, and AlMing. Ather was probably the best Titan because of the physical shields. Now, yes, the AlMing has more firepower than the Ather, and the Ather and Kid have the same amount of firepower because they both have 2 beta and 1 alpha weapon. But the Ather's physical shield is what makes it really good. It could stand in like a corner with his physical shield up and just chill there. Especially if there's an Ather sitting on a beacon, you're not getting that beacon. But that was back in the day. Nowadays, Ather doesn't really... I don't see Arthur's like at all on the live servers anymore, just because it can't really compete with the Titans nowadays. And for this reason, mainly because of the physical shield, I'm putting this in C tier. AlMing is a dragon Titan that has a base health pool of 267,000 hit points and travels 31 kilometers an hour. In the same time period that the Ather was the meta, AlMing was probably more meta because an AlMing with Jadarm and Curacao was by far the most dominant robot in the whole game. AlMing could fly up on like castle map, for example, like at the top beacons on castle map, and it could cover the entire freaking map and shoot down on everything. It was crazy. Now, the only downside to the AlMing is when it flies up, it dies extremely fast if you aren't careful. Well, back in the day, the only thing that could really like take out AlMing is another AlMing, especially if you were on the ground. But if you're in the air, like nobody was really using 600-meter range weapons in this time period, so there wasn't really much threat to an AlMing other than another AlMing. Now, nowadays, an AlMing it does way worse than an Ather does. Because, for example, you got the Ather. The Ather's built-in laser has 600 meters range, which is the same amount of range as his arm and Curacao. So, you fly up, and if you're not careful, you will die in like 3 seconds to another Titan if you're not careful. And for this reason, if we're comparing Titans to like how they perform now, I'm putting AlMing in the same tier as the Ather. Nodin's a support Titan with a base health pool of 426,192 and travels 31 kilometers an hour. I'll say it right now, once the Nodins came out, clan battles like 6 on 6 clan meta battle thingies, the Nodins changed those completely. Like, a Nodins could, and probably still can change the tide of a battle just by having a Nodins. Like, the healing of this thing, the fact that it can heal over like infinite range and has 3 charges is really good. Now, I'm not too sure how it would do now because I actually haven't seen anybody play Nodins in a really long time, which is kind of sad because the Nodins used to be so freaking good. But I honestly think that a Nodens probably could hang with the meta Titans that there are now, you know? The biggest weakness that the Nodens has is all you really gotta do to kill it is to just charge at it. If you're in like a brawling Titan like Luchador or even a Minos could easily kill a Nodens if you don't got teammates helping you, which is why I'd only recommend using a Nodens if you're doing clan battles, because you know your clanmates will actually be able to help you if you get attacked. Randoms aren't likely to help you if you were to get attacked by, let's say, like a Luchador. That's the only real flaw that the Nodens has. It's not really defensive enough to be able to brawl. I mean, you could still brawl with Nodens, but it's not as effective as other Titans are. But other than that, I'm going to give Nodens an S tier just because of how significant it was and could still be in clan battles. Minos is an offensive Titan with a base health pool of 390,000 hit points and travels 46 kilometers an hour. Oh man. Minos still is one of my favorite Titans in this entire game just because of how fast it is. I mean, having a base of 43 kilometers an hour is quite fast for a Titan. Because Minos is such an old Titan, I feel like it's quite easy to make mistakes in it, which will probably cost you to die. But if you give a Minos, like a max level Minos with good weapons, to a good player, they're going to last such a long time. Like, if Minos is played the right way, it can outbrawl even some of the strongest Titans in the game right now. Minos is such an old Titan and it still performs quite well. I'm going to give this an A tier. Sherango is a sniper Titan with a base health pool of 445,770 hit points and has a speed of 30 kilometers an hour. Sherango is so overwhelmingly weak compared to other Titans. Like, no matter what the Titan is, any Titan can rush a Sherango and it'll probably kill it. Especially something like an Ather or an Indra. And the main thing that the Sherango struggles with is that it doesn't really have any way to defend itself. It has the phase exile ability, which is supposed to be its defensive ability, but all it does is it basically temporarily puts an enemy into phase shift. But that doesn't really do anything when you got 2-3 guys running at you. I mean, I guess you could use it on the dude who's probably going to do the most damage to you, but that's not going to like stop the other enemies from damaging you. You use your only defensive ability, and then something who's really going to do a lot of damage to you pops up, you're going to die immediately. The only real advantage I think the Sherango has is that its weapons are on top of the robot, so you could stand behind cover with something like Striker and just annoy the absolute crap out of the enemy team just by sniping them. And if this Sherango is played right, it could be pretty effective. But like I said already, all you gotta do to kill a Sherango is just run at it, and you'll probably be able to take it out because it can't do anything. And because the Sherango is so defenseless, but it still can be played pretty effectively if you play it at a range, I'm going to put this in B tier. Minos is an offensive Titan that has a base health pool of 326,000 and travels 38 kilometers an hour. Minos is a very fragile Titan because just like the Sherango, it doesn't really have a defensive ability. The EMP blast is supposed to be its defensive ability, but the only real purpose it has is to use it on your enemy right before you fly up, because then, you know, they can't go into stealth or they can't use their ability or anything like that. They can't heal. That's the only thing the EMP is used for. Now, the thing I like about the Minos is if you combine the EMP with the flight, and if you get lucky and there's like a bunch of enemies chilling in one spot and you're using Gargantua and Pantagruel, because those weapons like hit more than one enemy at one time if they're all in the same area, the Minos is by far the best attacker if it's played right. Now, like I said, it is extremely fragile, so if you're not careful, you will, land in a funny spot and you're dead. Because just like the Sherango, all you really need to do to kill a Minos is just rush it. Although the Minos is a bit more defensive than the Sherango because it has stealth in its flight. So I guess I could be used to like evade your enemy instead of just like phase exiling him, which only lasts a couple seconds anyway. It's only for one enemy. That's pretty much it for Minos. It doesn't really have too many advantages or disadvantages. Why am I talking so fast? I was thinking about putting this in A tier, but I don't think it's quite as good as Minos, so I'm going to put this in B tier along with the Sherango. Luchador is a brawler titan with a base health pool of 476,974 and has a speed of 28 kilometers an hour. I don't really have anything too bad to say about the Luchador because it doesn't really require it to be played well for it to be effective. I mean, obviously, if you use common sense, you don't use your reflector when nobody's attacking you. Rather, you use it when, you're actually being attacked by something. You jump onto a beacon, then use your reflector. That's when it's most effective. So, that's pretty much it. Luchador, you don't really want to use, let's just say it like this. You don't want to use, like, not Jadarm and Curcia, like Dazzler, Lantern. You don't want to use long-range weapons on a brawler titan, So I'd recommend something like Vajra, Mahavajra, Grom, Squallworks, Grom and Cinder. And then, of course, you can use the new ones like Evora and Veyron, because those weapons are broken as heck. So that's pretty much it. The Lucio doesn't really have any disadvantages. It's quite good. Especially if you play really well, you will be in it the entire game. It can heal itself. So yeah, honestly, I'm going to give this the S tier. Heimdall is a support titan with a base health pool of 377,740 and has a speed of 35 kilometers an hour. Heimdall is pretty much a Noden's wannabe, just a lot worse. The thing that makes the Nodens much better than the Heimdall is the fact that the Nodens can heal its teammates from anywhere on the map. The Heimdall, you gotta be in the area around it. I don't know how many meters it is. I think it's like 150 meters or something. But you gotta be in 150 meters for the Heimdall to actually heal you. And that's not really good if you're in squad battles, or not squad battles. Squad battles, clan battles, whatever you want to call them, because it's not a good idea to stick with your teammates, especially let me rephrase, that's not a good idea to stand 200 meters from your teammate if all 6 of your teammates are in that area. So there's not really anything good or bad about the Heimdall. It heals, it's a decent support titan, but Nodens is still a lot better. It's got the same amount of firepower as the Nodens, so I don't really know why anybody would pick a Heimdall over a Nodens. I mean, the Heimdall is more tanky. I guess you could brawl with a Heimdall better than you could a Nodens, but I still think a Nodens is much, much better at healing than a Heimdall's. And for that reason, I'm going to give Heimdall a B tier. Indra is a brawler titan with a base health pool of 453,000 and it has a speed of 36 kilometers an hour. I'll say it straight up, Indra is by far the best one-on-one titan in the entire game, right? There's not really I don't think there's anything bad to say about Indra. If you are gonna one-on-one something when you're a titan, the Indra is the last thing you would want to pick. Now, what makes the Indra so good, you might ask? Its ability. Its ability is Titan phase shift. And the reason why that's good is because if you have, let's give an example, Luchador. Because Luchador was the previous best brawler titan in the game. A Luchador jumps on you. You wait until he activates his reflector. Once he activates his reflector, you use your 2 phase shifts. And by the time your phase shift is done, the Luchador's reflector is gone. And that means the Luchador's only defensive ability is gone. And now you activate your lasso ability, and you're just shooting at each other to see which one will die first. And trust me, the Indra will win. Now, even if the Luchador is a freaking god level player, all you gotta do is use the phase shift ability on the Indra to stall time while the other Titan you're fighting is in its ability. Once its ability is done, you activate your lasso and you can almost guarantee kill whatever you're fighting most of the time. Now, if it's another Indra, it varies in who wins, because Indra versus Indra, it really depends. And since Indra is the best brawling titan in the entire game, well, for one-on-ones at least, I'm gonna give Indra S tier. Ather is an offensive titan with a base health pool of 312,164 and can travel 32 kilometers an hour. Now, I might be a little biased with this because Ather is my main titan. Now, this thing is a freaking monster to deal with. The Ather's already pretty strong on the ground, but when it flies, it gets insane resistance in its flight that the only thing that can really kill an Ather in its flight is Evora and Veyron. Like, imagine an Ather is pretty much it's just a bigger version of Seraph, right? Just take unnerfed Seraph and make it a Titan. You have the Ather. It's got 2 alpha weapons, 1 beta weapon, which gives it quite a lot of firepower, actually. The one thing I really like about the Ather is it can both be used as a brawler and as more as like a sniper Titan. So like Dazzler Lantern goes really well with the Ather, which is what I use. You can use Glaive and Lance, which has 500 meters range. You could use Mahavajra and Vajra, which is for brawling. And even, obviously, Evora and Veyron works at any range because those weapons are freaking broken. The one thing that's different from the Ather with other Titans is both its abilities are really freaking good. You got the flight ability, which is pretty much just the same thing as what the Seraph has, but its other ability, I think it gives it resistance when its ability is active. Now remember, it has 3 charges. I think it gets speed. I know for a fact it gets speed. It heals you quite a lot. And I think it gives you resistance too. And you can do that 3 times and it stacks. And each charge gives the Ather 60% more speed. So if you use all 3 charges, you get 180% speed, and that's quite fast. Put all this into account, the only real thing that will stop an Ather is, like I said already, Evora, Veyron, and if you catch an Ather, if it used all 3 of its ability charges, and it doesn't have its flight, because then, you know, the ability that heals and gives speed has like a 17-second recharge. So if you're trying to kill an Ather, that's the time to do when its ability's on recharge. Ather is extremely dominant in the air, so because it's really dominant in the air and it can perform quite well on the ground too, I'm going to give this S tier as well. Cirrus is both a support and offensive Titan, has a base health pool of 400,000, it can travel 35 kilometers an hour. Now, Cirrus, again, is an interesting one. Now, because, like, it's not really... It can be both used for support and offense, because unlike the Nodens and Heimdall, its ability doesn't have to be used for your teammates. You can use it for yourself. Well, Heimdall, not really, because you can use the Heimdall as heal for yourself if you want to. But Cirrus, you don't have to throw your turret, and I don't think the Cirrus has... Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if the Cirrus, if you don't throw your turret, can Cirrus still heal teammates around it like the Heimdall does? So I guess in a way, the Cirrus is kind of like a mix of... Actually, it's a mix of the Heimdall and like the Mars pretty much, which is quite interesting because I never thought that we'd have a Titan that can throw both a healing and attack turret. And the attack turret shoots like a sonic-like projectile, pretty much the same projectile as Evora and Veyron does, and it does a decent chunk of damage too if you place it in the right spot. So it's pretty much just a Mars Titan. I'm not really sure if it's got any strengths or weaknesses because I haven't actually played this Titan in quite a while. I played it a couple times on the test server, but that was it, and I still haven't seen it at all on the live server, so I'm unsure. And just because I'm unsure, based on what I've seen and just by reading the description, I'm going to give it a solid A tier. Rook is an offense/brawler Titan that has a health pool of 650,000 hit points, which I think is the highest in the game, and has a speed of 40 kilometers an hour. Now, Rook is the newest Titan to the game. It's still on the test server, it's still in developing. It doesn't have any like textures and stuff yet, so it kind of looks pretty stupid. And just from the couple matches I've played using the Rook and just playing against it, this thing is extremely broken. Like, it's more... Think of the Rook as a Minos, a mix of a Minos, Shell, Ather, and Luchador. Oh, and I guess we could throw in Scorpion because it can pretty much teleport. So what it does is it's got the shields of a Shell. It can fly up like an Ather. It can teleport across the map like a Scorpion slash Luchador. Has the charge like a Minos does. And I'm pretty sure its charge can heal itself too. So it's pretty much like an all-in-one Titan. It's extremely broken. I don't really have... There's as of right now, from what I've seen, there's absolutely no weaknesses to it. Obviously, get bombarded by a couple enemies, the shields will eventually die just like a shell does. I think just like the shell, if you use like weapons with splash damage, it'll do a significant amount of damage to the Rook. But other than that, splash damage and obviously Avora and Veyron are the only things that are probably going to do like a bunch of damage to the Rook. So obviously this is getting an S tier, and that's it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's my 2023 Titan tier list. Now, I'll keep you updated on the Rook. It might be changed. It'll probably still be an S tier when it comes to live server. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like and subscribe, because this took quite a while to make. It was fun though. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.